Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the inner sanctum.
Harold Peary in an episode of The Great-Gildersleeve from 79 years ago, September 26, 1943. Leila Ransom is back in Summerfield. And let's see what happens with The Great-Gildersleeve. And we thank you for tuning in. On this Monday, this is the 26th day of September, 269th day of the year. We have 96 days remaining until we get to 2023. Thomas Jefferson appointed the first U.S. Secretary of State. John Jay appointed the first Chief Justice of the U.S. Samuel Osgood appointed the first U.S. Postmaster General. Edmund Randolph appointed the first U.S. Attorney General. In 1914, the Federal Trade Commission, established by the Federal Trade Commission Act. West Side Story by Arthur Lawrence, Leonard Bernstein, and Stephen Sondheim, directed and choreographed by Jerome Robbins, opened on Broadway. That was in 1957. In 1960, in Chicago, the first televised debate took place between presidential candidates Richard Nixon and John Kennedy.
In my judgment, a vigorous Democratic president, supported by a Democratic majority in the House and Senate, can win the support for these programs. But if you send a Republican president and a Democratic majority, and the threat of a veto hangs over the Congress, in my judgment, you will continue what happened in the August session, which is a clash of parties and inaction.
Mr. Nixon, comment?
Well, obviously, my views are a little different. First of all, I don't see how it's possible for a one-third of a body, such as the Republicans have in the House and the Senate, to stop two-thirds if the two-thirds are adequately led. I would say, too, that when Senator Kennedy refers to the action of the House Rules Committee, there are 8 Democrats on that committee and 4 Republicans. It would seem to me, again, that it is very difficult to blame the 4 Republicans for the 8 Democrats not getting something through that particular committee.
And the newer medium tended to lend to a difference in the way the debate was perceived. Those people who listened on radio felt that Nixon was the more compelling candidate who won the debate. Those people who listened and watched on television felt that John F. Kennedy, his better stage presence and the like, led to his winning of the debate. In 1961, Bob Dylan made his public debut. It was on this date in 1969 the Brady Bunch debuted on ABC television, and it ran for 5 years. The Laguna Fire began in San Diego County of California on this date in 1970, burning 175,000 acres. The Concorde made its first nonstop crossing of the Atlantic in a record-breaking time on this date in 1973. In baseball, Nolan Ryan set a major league record by throwing his 5th no-hitter in 1981. In 2000, anti-globalist protests in Prague. Some 20,000 protesters turned violent during the International Monetary Fund and World Bank summits. Among those passing away on this date in history, Daniel Boone, who was a man. He was a real man. He had an eye like an eagle. I'm not going to go there. But Daniel Boone passing away on this date in history, as did composer Bela Bartok. Charles Correll of Amos and Andy fame. Singer Betty Carter. Also actor Richard Mulligan, best known for his role on the television show Soap. British singer Robert Palmer. Golfer coach Byron Nelson. The accused Tokyo Rose, Iva Toguri Diaquino. She was accused, she was convicted, but then she was pardoned, particularly since the people who thought she was Tokyo Rose did not have accurate information, and many of them perjured themselves. And also passing away on this date in history, Paul Newman, all those folks leaving this mortal coil on this date in history. Born on this date, the real Johnny Appleseed. Yes, there was such a man. Also, Nobel Prize laureate writer T.S. Eliot, actor George Raft, Pope Paul VI, also George Gershwin, born on this date. The man who was very, very big into fitness, Jack LaLanne, born on this date. Singer Marty Robbins, who had a pop career before his country career. You know, the white sport coat and the pink carnation. Let's see, Julie London, born on this date. Ellie Mae from the Hillbillies, Donna Douglas, born on this date. Singer Lynn Anderson, born on this date. And Olivia Newton-John, whom we lost earlier this year to cancer at the age of 73. She did put up a long fight. Kent McCord from Adam 12, 80 years old today. Oh, this is Ann Robinson's 78th birthday. You know Ann Robinson.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Yes, Ann Robinson, 78 years old today, the original host of The Weakest Link. And I thought she was delightful in that role. Linda Hamilton, you remember her from Terminator and Beauty and the Beast? Linda Hamilton, 66 today. Little House on the Prairie's Melissa Sue Anderson is 60 today. Jillian Barberi is 56. Actress-singer Christiana Milian is 41. And retired tennis star Serena Williams, 41 years old today. Those just a few of the people who celebrate the 26th day of September as their birthday. And if this happens to be your birthday...
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
From 79 years ago today, September 26, 1943, Harold Peary is the Great Gildersleeve on this Monday, Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.
Attention Walmart shoppers. Now you can order one of the most advanced hearing aids on the market for hundreds, not thousands of dollars. Hearing Assist's most advanced product lineup includes models that use an exclusive app for enhanced control over what you want to hear. It's perfect if you have a smartphone or iPhone to hear everything better. And we have two great ways for you to get one. You can call the number at the end of this ad and order directly. Or you can call this same number and we will text you a complete list of Walmart Vision Center locations. We make it easy for you to hear better. Remember, call this number today to order and have a text message instantly sent to your phone to find the Walmart Vision Center near you. Here's that special number.
Call 800-360-0597. 800-360-0597. 800-360-0597. That's 800-360-0597.
Thanks for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on this Monday edition. So, we're listening to The Great Gildersleeve today. This is the 4th episode of the 3rd season of the program. Now, if you listen to the 1st and 2nd seasons, you'd realize that the cast wasn't quite where they needed to be. The unity of characters and the way that they would interact for the bulk of the rest of the programs going on wasn't quite there yet. By now, it's settled in. Hooker is not as hard on Gildersleeve as he was in the early going. They have become more friends. And, of course, you're going to hear the Jolly Boys coming up in this. And there will be more of that. You'll also hear Gildersleeve's character as a ladies' man start to come up here more, as you will hear Eve Goodwin portrayed by Bea Benadera, and of course you will hear the role today of Leila Ransom. That's going to come up as well in this program. But let's get to this, as you can hear the characters finally starting to gel into what would make them a very long-running program. September 26, 1943, The Great Gildersleeve, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Kraft presents The Great Gildersleeve. Kraft Cheese Company, who also bring you Bing Crosby every Thursday night, present each week at this time Harold Peary as the Great Gildersleeve, written by John Whedon and Sam Moore. Now let's see what's happening to the Great Gildersleeve. Well, tonight our hero has taken another step forward in his public career in Summerfield. He's been elected to fill a vacancy on the school board. And having attended his first meeting, he and Judge Hooker are escorting Miss Goodwin, the grammar school principal, to her home.
Well, it's been so nice of you gentlemen to see me home.
The pleasure, Miss Goodwin, was all ours.
You're sure I couldn't persuade you to come in for a moment?
Why,
the judge has to be getting home, I'm afraid. Busy day tomorrow, eh, Judge?
Well, I don't know if you...
Yes, the law is a stern mistress, a stern mistress. All those briefs to read, decisions to hand down, bills to collect. Not much time for play, is there, Judge?
No, the law's demands are pretty heavy. But as it happens...
So if you don't mind, Miss Goodwin, I think perhaps we'd better say goodnight. Perhaps another time?
Well, now, wait a minute. I don't know about you, Gildy, but personally, I should be delighted
Another time, perhaps, Judge.
All right, I can take a hint.
I was beginning to wonder.
Miss Goodwin, this has been most pleasant.
I enjoyed your story so much, Judge. You must tell me more sometime.
Yeah.
Well, one has many amusing experiences in the law. I remember one particular case involving litigation over a dog.
Another time, Judge.
Oh, quite so, quite so. Good night, Miss Goodwin.
Good night, Judge Hooker.
Good night, Judge.
Good night. Oh, Gildy.
What is it, Judge?
Did I tell you that Leila Ransom is arriving tomorrow?
Yes, you did, several times. Now, good night.
Good night.
I'm sorry you haven't time to come in, Mr. Gildersleeve. Won't you at least sit down here on the porch for a moment?
Oh, thank you. Just for a moment.
You know, I envy you, Mr. Gildersleeve.
Me? Why would anybody envy me?
I envy you your career. If I were a man, I can't think of anything that would be more exciting and more rewarding than a career of public service.
Well, mine isn't much of a career, just water commissioner.
Oh, but
Of course, the department did operate at a profit last year for the first time.
Yes, and that's only the beginning. It's only a stepping stone.
Oh, you think so?
I'm sure of it. Why, just think, already you're a member of the school board. That's quite an honor, you know.
Yeah, gonna have to be some changes there, too.
Last year, the water department. This year, the school board. Next year... Who knows? With the right guidance and encouragement, there's no telling how far you might go.
Miss Goodwin.
Yes, Mr. Gildersleeve.
You're a woman. You've been around. You've had experience.
Let's just say that I'm a woman.
Well, I'd like to ask your advice. Do you feel that marriage helps a man's career or hinders it?
Oh, I think it's a great help to it, definitely. After all, nearly every great man in history has had a woman behind him.
Well, I was asking this advice on behalf of a friend.
Oh, this is a friend.
Yes, a friend. Well, I've known him for quite a long time, too. He happens to be in public office, too, only in another town.
I see. Not married.
No, that's the point. He happens to be about my age, and he lives alone with his niece and nephew. He was wondering whether he ought to get married.
You mean he's met someone?
Oh, yes. He's taken quite a fancy to a certain young lady who moved to this town he lives in.
Oh. Well, tell me, what is she like?
Well, she's,
Is she attractive?
Uh-huh.
You know, she interests me, this, friend of your friend's. Tell me more about her.
Well, she's young. Not too young, but just about right.
Yes, go on.
The only thing is, she happens to be a widow.
Oh.
Yes, they were very close there for a while, as I understand it. But then she left town. Now she's coming back, and the question is, well, should he or shouldn't he?
Mr. Gildersleeve, I wonder if your friend has ever read a book called Of Human Bondage.
Well, he's a pretty busy fellow. I don't think he gets time to do much reading.
You recall it yourself, though, of course.
Oh, yes, fine book.
and so true to life.
Yeah, I must read it again. But about my
You
friend...
remember it was the story of a man, a really splendid man, who fell in love with a girl who was beneath him, and how she dragged him down and ruined his career.
Say, didn't they make a movie of it?
Oh, yes, with Betty Davis.
Come to think of it, my friend saw it.
Then you might just remind him of it.
I'll do that.
What he should ask himself is, can this woman really give him the things he wants in a wife? Is she fitted intellectually to be a suitable partner to him as he goes on to higher things?
Well, I don't know that she's so much on intellect, but then my friend is very broad-minded.
Nevertheless, I think he might be wise to keep their relationship on a platonic basis for a while.
Platonic? Yes, he hasn't tried that.
Yes, at least until he's sure. Of course, I'm speaking only as a woman, but you asked my opinion, and there it is.
Miss Goodwin, I'll do that. I'll tell my friend they ought to be more platonic. That might solve a lot of things.
Yes. And now, if you'll excuse me, I have a rather early day tomorrow.
Yeah, I know. I've kept you too late. I don't know how to thank you. And my friend doesn't know how to thank you either.
Not at all, Mr. Gildersleeve.
Miss Goodwin, before I go...
Yes?
I'll tell you a secret if you won't tell anybody.
A secret?
Yes. I haven't any friend. The friend is me.
Why, Mr. Gildersleeve.
Yeah, good night. Good morning, all.
Hi, Unc.
I'm well, thank you, Leroy. And you?
Get him.
Your usual self, I see. Marjorie, have you got a kiss for your old uncle this fine and glorious morning?
Of course I have. Look at your cheek. Ha, ha, ha. Oh, here, let me wipe it off.
Marjorie, I've spoken to you about that.
Oh, but Uncle, darling, all the kids use lipstick.
I know I don't expect to be obeyed, but I do think you might ration yourself a little.
That's nothing. You ought to see Wally Hoff after they've been to the movies together. He looks like he's got scarlet fever.
Leroy, that's not true.
Oh, yeah, look at her blush.
You made that up.
Now, Leroy.
You just made that up to be funny.
Now, children, let's not start the day with any arguments. It's a fine morning, and besides, I have some good news for you.
Anyway, I wouldn't kiss Wally Hoff if he were the last man on earth.
Oh, yeah? Then what are you always hanging around with him for?
If you two would listen a moment.
Because I happen to like the way he plays piano. Is there anything wrong with that?
A likely story.
Can't a man and woman just be friends, for goodness sake?
Of course they can. Leroy, eat your prunes.
I ate them.
Then eat something else. And stop teasing your sister. She says her friendship with Wally is platonic. I, for one, am prepared to take her word for it.
Thank you, Uncle Mort.
Platonic? What's that?
Platonic? Well, it comes from the Greek word, Well, there was this old Greek named Plato. A historian, wasn't he, Marjorie?
Philosopher.
Well, a philosopher, too. Anyway, he was a great authority on Greek. So that's where we get the word platonic.
Oh, yeah. But what does it mean?
Well, it means when a man and a woman are friends. That is, it means, what would you say it means, Marjorie?
Well, it means...
It means no monkey business. Now eat your breakfast.
Good morning, Mr. Gildersleeve.
Good morning, Bertie. You can take this dish if you want. I'm through.
Yes, sir. Here's a bill, Mr. Gildersleeve.
Bill? What's this?
The cleaner. He finally brought your pants back.
What pants?
The ones you spilled the tomato surprise on the lap of.
Oh, well, it's about time. By the way, Bertie, no more paper plates.
No, sir.
Picnic or no picnic, you understand?
I ain't bought a one, Mr. Gildersleeve, not since the tomato surprise.
Good.
Not me, not anymore, not after you told me, no, sir.
Good.
Picnic or no picnic, I ain't buying no paper plates, and that's fine.
Bertie, another thing, tell the cleaner to submit his bills monthly hereafter.
Monthly?
Yes, tell him I expect to be a very busy man from now on. I don't want to be pestered with a lot of odds and ends of bills. Just send me one a month. Yeah. Do you understand?
Yes, sir. But, Mr. Gildersleeve...
Yes, Bertie?
The man's waiting out there for his money.
Let him wait. I waited 3 weeks for my pants.
Why do you expect to be so busy, Uncle Mort?
Well, it might just possibly interest you children to know that your uncle was elected to the school board last night.
You were? Leroy, did you hear that? Uncle Mort's been elected to the school board. Isn't that wonderful?
How much does it pay?
Leroy, it doesn't pay anything. The position is purely honorary.
You mean you don't do anything?
Of course we do things. We do a great deal.
What?
Well, we meet from time to time.
How often?
As often as necessary.
What do you do?
Well, how do I know? We pass on things. We make suggestions. As a matter of fact, I believe we even hire the teachers.
Can you fire them too?
Leroy, I know what you're thinking, and it won't work.
I'm not thinking anything, Unc.
There'll be no special favors for you. You'll work just as hard as anybody, young man, and even harder. Have you done your homework for today?
Yes.
Have you practiced your music?
Bertie was dusting the piano.
Well, go practice.
Okay.
From now on, we're going to have things done on the dot around here. I'm not going to have time for any more nonsense. And if I have to listen to much more of that.
I'll go, Unc. It's the postman.
Let Bertie go. You stick to your lessons. See if you can improve a little.
I'm doing all right.
You're just barely holding your own.
I'm coming.
Anything for me, Bertie?
No, just a letter for your uncle.
Just put it on the table, Bertie.
Uh-oh, indeed. September 26, 1943, Harold Peary, the Great Gildersleeve, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We'll have a look at the news from 79 years ago today, following these important words from your favorite station.
Listen up, guys. Are you experiencing any of the following? Fatigue, less drive, poor performance? If so, you may be one of the nearly 30 million men in the U.S. today dealing with ED. But did you know you don't have to pay hundreds for a prescription anymore? And you don't have to deal with the hassle of seeing the doctor or the embarrassment of going to the pharmacy for a certain pill. Now, with one free call, you can find out how Herbal Virility Max can help you feel like a man again. For over a decade, Herbal Virility Max has helped guys just like you put a smile back on their face with improved performance and drive. Call today and ask about our buy one, get one free offer.
800-772-6113. 800-772-6113. 800-772-6113. That's 800-772-6113.
Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox here on your favorite radio station. We're listening to an episode of The Great Gildersleeve starring Harold Peary, as it was broadcast at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Sunday, September 26, 1943 rather. In the newspaper of that Sunday 79 years ago, these were some of the headlines. President Truman acted decisively last night to streamline the State Department into a hard-hitting, tightly integrated agency and to bring into a single unit all agencies having economic dealings with other countries. The president avoided Lend-Lease Administrator Edward R. Stennis to be Undersecretary of State and named Leo T. Crowley to head a new agency controlling this nation's far-flung and vast foreign relief and economic enterprises. Soviet columns pounded on past captured Sometz, the Red Army's greatest 1943 victory, in pursuit of the fleeing Germans. Moscow dispatches said, as some reports said, Russian spearheads had cracked the Great Dnieper River line at half a dozen points from Smolensk to tottering Kiev. Meanwhile, American and British ground forces smashed their way to the mountaintops guarding the smoke-filled plain of Naples, headquarters announced yesterday, as Allied airmen took a growing toll of German troops attempting to flee by plane from Corsica to Italy. In the Pacific, Allied troops cracked the Japanese defense line and drove southward across the Buni River toward the strategic enemy base at the eastern tip of the Wan Peninsula in New Guinea, a communique indicating that Australian forces met stiff opposition as they fought to sometimes at bayonet points to within 1,000 yards of the town last Thursday. Professor Harold Sachs Huddle of the Department of Education College of the City of New York yesterday released results of a 2-year study, which he said showed American elementary and junior high students were failing to prepare students for the responsibility of citizenship. Well, if you happen to know Private First Class Lyle Fancher, don't send him any Valentines in 1944 or any other year. Valentine's Day to him means fade past and trouble. That was the day the Germans broke through at Gapsa and outflanked Fancher's unit in the Battle for North Africa. And writes Private Fancher, what a Valentine. Oh, and in Boise, Idaho, Police Chief R.G. Haskins personally overtook a motorist who had just engaged in multiple traffic violations. Taking out his book, Haskins inquired, "Name, please?" And the motorist replied, "Aloysius Zachary Abernathy Mefgenston Wallenberry." Chief put his book back in his pocket and said, "Don't do it again." Those some of the day's top news stories as reported in the newspapers of Sunday, September 26, 1943, on your radio, The Great Gildersleeve, which continues now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
My goodness, the postmark's from Savannah, Georgia.
Uh-oh.
Well, who do I know in Savannah, Georgia?
I wonder.
Mr. Gildersleeve, didn't Miss Ransom come from Savannah, Georgia?
That I couldn't say, Betty. Just leave it there, will you?
Yes, sir.
If it's from her, I won't read it.
You'd like me to open it and find out?
No. Because it's from her, I'm just not interested, that's all. I made up my mind that from now on, everything between us is going to be strictly platonic. Strictly.
I think you're right. Maybe the best thing to do is burn it.
No, hold on, my dear. It might not be from her, either. Come to think of it, I believe there was a classmate of mine in college who used to come from Savannah. Yes. Smith, his name was, or something like that. Yeah, Smith. George Smith. Butch, we used to call him. Yeah, might be from Butch. Give it here, my dear. Just as I thought, Butch. Let's see what he says.
My darling Throckmorton, just a line to say that I'm coming back to Summerfield. I may even get there before this does.
What does he say?
Says he may be coming to town one of these days.
Oh, really?
Let's see, he goes on here.
I don't suppose you can ever really forgive poor Leila for what she has done to you. I don't ask that. All I ask is that if we should chance to meet anywhere, you'll give me your hand and believe that I am, as ever, your friend, Leila.
Good old Butch. By George, I'll be glad to see him
The Great Gildersleeve will be with us again in a few seconds.
So I guess Leila Ransom's new nickname is Butch. September 26, 1943, The Great Gildersleeve on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
You know, it's true. Difficult times have a way of focusing us. We have to think about what matters most when it comes to our spending, our health care. No doubt. This is why so many people are joining Medishare right now. Medishare is a trusted way to save up to 50% on your monthly healthcare costs. More than 400,000 people have already made the switch. It's pretty obvious why, too, especially now during this challenging season with healthcare costs and out-of-pocket expenses going up. Medishare can save you a lot of money. The typical family saves $500 a month. And Medishare is a Christian healthcare sharing ministry that's worked beautifully for 29 years. There are different options to choose from to fit your budget. I'll give you the number here in a second, and if you call, you can get a price within 2 minutes. Maybe now is the perfect time to make the switch and start saving. Here you go. Call 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
We'll go back 80 years on Tuesday's Classic Radio Theater for an episode of The Whistler entitled Jealousy. A sick woman is sure her husband's trying to kill her so he can be with another woman. She therefore decides to make the first move. That's on Tuesday's Classic Radio Theater, but now the conclusion of The Great Gildersleeve from 79 years ago, September 26, 1943.
Now let's get back to the Great Gildersleeve. He hasn't been able to get his mind on his work today for some reason, possibly because of a sleepless night spent tossing from pillow to pillow and post to post. Determined not to lie awake again tonight, he drops in at Peavy's drugstore in mid-afternoon.
Well, hello, Mr. Gildersleeve.
Why don't you put a stopper on that door, Peavy, so it won't bang?
You must be a little on edge. You never noticed it before.
How long has it been that way?
Every summer for 23 years. Yes, sir. 1920 was the year I bought that screen door.
Never mind, Peavy.
Before that, I just had flypaper.
Let it go. Have you got a good, reliable sleeping powder?
Insomnia?
No, I want it for a hangnail.
Well, now, I had one customer who used to take sleeping powders because he liked the taste, but he overdid it.
Did it kill him?
No, but he became quite a somnambulist. So let's not rush into this.
Peavy, I'll bet you never rushed in anything in your whole life.
Well, now, I wouldn't say that. I've done some pretty hasty things in my time.
Oh, you have?
Yes, to mention only one, there's Mrs. Peavy. The minute I laid eyes on her, at that time she was Miss Horsefall, the minute I laid eyes on her, I said to myself, there's the girl I'm going to marry.
You did?
Mm-hmm. Of course, I didn't ask her till 5 years later.
Peavy.
About the sleeping powders, Mr. Gildersleeve. Maybe a simple home remedy would be just as effective. Have you tried hot milk?
I want something stronger. I can't stand another night like last night.
Have you had a number of them, or was this the first?
This was the first, but I wanted to be the last.
The reason I ask is a lot of insomnia is in the mind, Mr. Gildersleeve. Anything been worrying you?
No.
You're not nervous about anything?
No.
You haven't had any bad news lately?
No. Peavy, I came here for a sedative. If I want to be psychoanalyzed, I'll go to a chiropractor.
Well, no offense. You see, sometimes...
Wait a minute, Peavy. Quiet. Didn't I hear a train?
Oh, the 419, I guess. Yeah, right on time.
419? Oh, I've got to go.
Expecting someone on it?
No, that is not exactly. I just like trains.
What do you do? Go down to the station and wave at them?
I'm not going to the station, Peavy. I'm going home.
Well, you won't find the train there.
So I know.
That you, Marge?
No, it's me.
Oh!
Leroy, is there no other room in this house where you can practice?
Well, if you'd like to move the piano upstairs.
All right.
Well, you want me to practice, don't you?
I suppose so.
What are you looking at, Unc? Something going on next door?
No, nothing at all.
Then what are you staring out the window for? You watching for somebody?
You just watch your little music. So...
Gosh, you seem nervous, Unc. Walking up and down.
That piece would make anybody nervous. Why don't you learn to play something good? Something by Bach or Beethoven. Who wrote that anyway?
Bach.
Must have been one of his bad days, then.
What do you want, Unc? Something more like this?
Leroy. That'll conclude your piano lesson for today, young man.
Hooray!
Now leave me alone, will you? I'm going to try to get a little nap here on the couch before dinner.
Okay, Unc. Sweet dreams. Hey,
What?
there's a taxi pulling up. No, it's stopping next door. Hey, you better come and look, Unc.
What goes on next door does not concern me in the least, Leroy. Besides, I've told you time and again it's distinctly bad manners to pry into other people's business. What do you see?
Somebody's getting out. Hey, it's the old goat.
You mean it's Judge Hooker. Is there anybody with him?
Wait a minute. Yeah.
Leroy, I asked you a question.
It's her, Unc. It's Mrs. Ransom.
Oh, that's all. Mrs. Ransom, huh? How does she look?
They're going up the walk now. She's holding on to the judge's arm.
Leroy, how does she look?
I don't know. Why don't you come here and take a look for yourself?
What do you think I am, a peeping Tom? Anyway, it's nothing to me.
You better hurry. They're going inside.
Where?
Oh, you missed her.
Why didn't you get out of the way?
Well, gosh, you don't have to knock me down.
All right, if you can't keep your eyes open, make room for somebody who can. I can't stand this. What the devil is Hooker doing over there so long?
Did you say something, Mr. Gildersleeve?
Just talking to myself, Bertie. I'm going out for a minute.
But, Mr. Gildersleeve, supper's almost ready.
Don't worry, I'll be back for supper.
It'll be ready in 5 minutes.
I'll be back in less than that.
Uh-huh.
I will, too. I've just come to a quick understanding with Leila. Get the thing settled once and for all. And maybe I can get a night's sleep. Get everything straight right at the start.
Well, hello, Gildy.
What's the idea of hanging around here, Hooker? Don't you know when to go home?
I think I do. I've seen no evidence that Mrs. Ransom is bored with my company.
Where is she?
She's gone upstairs to get some papers for me. Well, you might as well come in.
Don't worry, I'm coming in, all right. What have you been up to all this time, anyway?
Well, we had a lot of things to talk about.
What, for instance?
What do you care?
Yeah, I don't. All I want is an understanding with Leila. From now on, she and I are going to be on a strictly platonic basis. I want to make that plain to her.
Oh.
How is she, Horace?
As beautiful as ever.
What's she going to do? What are her plans?
She's going to stay here. Live here.
Hooker, did she say anything about me?
Not that I remember.
She must have said something.
No? Oh, yes. She asked if you'd been lonesome during the summer.
What did you say? Did you say anything about Miss... What's her name?
Miss Goodwin? What would you care if you and Leila are going to be so platonic?
Well, wouldn't want to make her feel bad, you old goat. If you...
Oh, here she comes.
Oh. Throckmorton, it's so nice to see you again.
Nice to see you, Leila.
Can't we all sit down?
Yeah, why not?
I thought you were going, Judge, as soon as you got the papers.
No hurry, no hurry. Yeah, like old home week, huh, Leila?
Yes, Horace. Here are the papers.
Thank you.
You're looking well, Leila.
Oh, not really. But you're looking well, Throckmorton.
Feel pretty well. Rocking chair still squeaks, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, guess I better be running along.
Must you, Horace?
Must you, Horace?
Well...
Yes, I'm afraid he must. Goodbye, Judge.
Goodbye. I'll call you tomorrow, Leila.
Oh, thank you. You've been a good friend to me in my time of trouble, Horace.
You can count on me. Bye, Gildy.
Goodbye.
Good night, Horace.
Good night, gracious lady. I kiss your hand, madame.
Go home, Hooker.
Well?
Well, here we are.
Everything's so changed, isn't it?
You look different, Leila.
Do I?
Well, I guess it's the black dress.
I'm in mourning, Throckmorton.
It's true, then. Beauregard is...
Yes.
Positively?
I buried him, Throckmorton. He was a fine man.
I'm sure he was. Leila, I wanted to say something about our...
Oh, Throckmorton, you have no idea how Beauregard had changed. He was a different man, I declare he was.
Well, how do you mean?
He came back because he needed me. He never needed me before.
Oh.
And all these last few months before he...
Yes, yes.
He was so sweet and sympathetic and thoughtful. He was wonderful.
Yes. Well, about us, Leila, I just wanted to say...
I always told you Beauregard was a gentleman, Throckmorton.
Yes, Leila, you always did. Where did you live all summer?
On my family's place down south. It's just a plantation.
Was Beauregard practicing law down there?
Oh, mercy, no. He wasn't doing anything. Nothing but just be sweet to me.
Did he have any money?
Oh, no, Beauregard never had a penny, the poor lamb. But he was such a handsome man. Didn't you think he was handsome, Throckmorton?
I thought he looked like a gigolo.
Well,
And I was right, living off your family.
Throckmorton, I will not have you talk that way about Beauregard.
But, Leila...
No one ever understood poor Beauregard but me. No one.
Now, Leila, I didn't mean...
I knew the real Beauregard. No one else did.
He must have been a fine man, or you wouldn't have married him, Leila.
Oh, he was. He truly was.
There, Leila. Here, take my handkerchief.
Oh, thank you, darling. You're the only man in the world as thoughtful as Beauregard was.
Oh, I'm not thoughtful.
Oh, yes, you are. You're sweet.
Leila, I want to get things settled between us.
Oh, please, Throckmorton, if you knew what I've been through. Such a tragedy for poor Beauregard, a man who was so fond of animals.
What are you talking about, Leila?
Why, if he ever saw anyone mistreating a dog or a horse or a cat, he was furious. That's what made it so sad.
What, Leila?
Beauregard's passing.
How did he go, Leila?
He was kicked in the head by a mule.
Well, we never know where it's going to come from, do we?
No. Just 5 weeks ago today.
Oh, you poor girl. There. Have a good cry on Throckmorton's shoulder.
Oh, you're so sweet.
So are you.
What was it you've been trying to tell me, Throckmorton?
Tell you? Well, what I was going to say, Leila, was that, I think maybe you and I should have a more platonic relationship.
What, Throckmorton?
A platonic relationship.
Oh, Throckmorton, 5 weeks is too soon for us to be thinking about things like that.
But, Leila...
Good night, Throckmorton.
K-15, calling B9. Listen, you better bring back that thing you borrowed. No, you get it back here tonight. Listen, don't you get tough with me. My uncle's on the school board now, and he can get you suspended.
Leroy!
Oh, hi, Unc. Wait a minute, Pig.
Young man, I'll not have you using my position to bully your friends.
Oh, I'm not bullying him, Unc. I'm trying to get him to bring back something.
What?
Something he borrowed.
What did he borrow, Leroy?
Your electric drill.
My electric drill? You tell him to get it back here in 5 minutes, or I'll have him expelled. Good night, everybody.
Music heard on this program was under the direction of Claude Sweeten. This is Ken Carpenter speaking for the Kraft Cheese Company, inviting you to listen in again next Sunday for the further adventures of the Great Gildersleeve.
September 26, 1943, The Great Gildersleeve here on this Monday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thanks for tuning in. Please thank this station. Support their advertisers. It's their kindness and courtesy that allow us to be with you each and every Monday here on your favorite station. If you miss a day, you don't have to miss a single show. All of our shows are available at the webpage, classicradio.stream, where you can stream our shows on demand, learn more about classic radio collecting. You can contact me there, find our social media links, and if you're so inclined, you can buy me a coffee. That Buy Me a Coffee money lets us acquire additional classic radio collections for you to hear here on your favorite station. Thanks for tuning in. Tell your friends great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite station.